Gentlemen, and welcome to week 10 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. I am Lucas Dorton. I am joined by the man that does not have any glasses, Mr. Nicholas Doetkott. Nick, how are we doing today?
Can't see, man. Broke my darn glasses. But, we're doing all right.
You're going too hard in the paint, right?
Yeah, that darn open gym, man. Glasses can't take it.
Well, it just means that you were working hard then.
Yeah, Jordan Pates will get me in the face,
Glasses you got to start a malice at the palace. Just start
right?
throwing punches there. The Thunder
on our test.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Alrighty. Well, we don't have a lot of big stuff to talk about, but we do have stuff to talk about nonetheless. So we'll just get into it. And unfortunately, we do have to start the show with a little piece of pretty sad news. If those of you that are not familiar with the news yet, which I would be kind of surprised if you're not, because we're probably the very last podcast to report on this. But nonetheless, we are going to talk about it. On Sunday earlier this week, Kobe Bryant and 8 other passengers died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. Super shocking, super sad, something that I certainly did not think how that day was going to go, hearing about that. Nick, so when you first heard about it, how shocked were you?
I mean, I was shocked. Like I said, I told you, I heard about it from you. I had just gotten home, church, and I look at my phone, and I don't remember exactly what you said, but you pretty much said how Kobe had died in a helicopter crash. I can't believe it. And then I looked, and I typed in, and I'm like, sure enough, he did, because they were all reporting on it. And I just thought, wow, that's shocking, and it's unfortunate, and it's just kind of weird. He had been in the news a lot over the last week with LeBron had just passed him and scoring and whatnot, and then all of a sudden you just see Kobe pass, and it's just I don't know, it was sad. And I guess I just want to say prayers to Kobe's family and all those who were affected by that tragedy. 9 people died. It's really unfortunate, and I guess speak to Kobe on Kobe himself. Obviously, he was a great basketball player, one of the best ever, but I really commend him for, obviously I don't know the guy personally, but I really commend him for what he's done in his life since he retired. He seems to be a very involved and loving father. He won an Oscar, so he's got all sorts of talents, and it seems like he's really trying to do the best for the community, which I love seeing athletes do, because they realize, they're role models for people, and they can really make a big difference. And it seemed like Kobe did that and was trying to. And it's just sad to see him and 8 others go like that. And in our lifetime, it's easily the biggest, most well-known athlete to die at a young age like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's crazy. It's just another day in sports, and all of a sudden Kobe Bryant died, and it's just like everything changes. Wow.
Right. No, I'm with you. I was super shocked when I found out about it. One of my buddies had texted me, and it was like almost right after. Like there was barely any talks about it. I think the only thing that actually had it out was a source that broke it, which was TMZ. And first I was like, well, TMZ, how reliable is this going to be? But then the more I kept looking, the more I kept finding about it, and and it was shocking. It really was. Now, like we mentioned, Kobe Bryant was one of the people that passed away. There were 8 other people, one of them being one of his daughters, Gianna Bryant, and then the other people being the Altabellis, who's the head coach. The dad of the Altabellis was a head coach in California, was there for, I believe, 27 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a long time.
A long time, had a ton of success there. I know he is very much respected in the California community and in the baseball community as well too. So it's a ginormous loss in itself too. To have a program that has had a lot of success lose the biggest part of it, which is their head coach. Super sad too. His wife also passing away with them, and then their daughter. And then another one of their team, Gianna's teammates, also passing away with her mother as well too, and then the pilot as well also passing away. um, it's just it really does go to show that a lot of times us as fans of sports teams and players, we look at athletes as almost as if they're immortal. Sorry, immortal, not immoral, immortal. And and that nothing can happen to them. We see them do all these amazing things on the field, and we're like, wow, like they're superhuman, and it just kind of can bring you back down to earth with something like the Kobe Bryant situation here, where it just does go to show that these athletes are, they're just like you and I, and that just like that, it's a life can change, and a community can change, and families can change, and um, it's kind of unfortunate that it does take something that big for something like us that we have to realize. We have to realize something like that, and it's fortunate that happens. In my opinion, Nick, and you can touch on this too if you'd like. The last time that I felt super impacted and super shocked and sad, obviously not to say that no death is, not a sad one, because they all are, but just something to me personally that kind of hit me on this similar level was the Jose Fernandez passing away. When that happened, he didn't get as much, notoriety behind the Kobe Bryant thing, obviously, just because he hadn't been around long enough to have that status that Kobe Bryant did.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that one shocked me big time. I mean, you talk about a guy that was at the top of his game, one of the best pitchers in the game, and was so young too when it happened. It was just shocking. Is there something similar to that magnitude or the same thing that you can think of with that?
I mean, not really. It's just like you said, Kobe and Fernandez, and anytime an athlete of any skill level dies, it's sad, but it's definitely. I mean, Fernandez one. I mean, that one was shocking, as was this one. It's just anytime and Kobe, well, Fernandez, for instance, like, not that you should really care about your baseball team when a guy dies, but like for a Marlins fan, it's like this guy was like the best player on the team, and his death changed. I mean, everything. Stanton might still be a Marlin if it weren't for that. And it's just Kobe. I can't speak to it personally because I'm not from LA, but you hear these Angelinos speak, and they're just like, they say what Kobe means to that city. He was there for 20 years. The Lakers are the most storied franchise in NBA history. Them are the Celtics, and he's, in a lot of people's opinion, the best Laker ever. And it's just the effect it has on them. It's just, he had a big effect in that city, and it's just tough to see him go.
And one of my buddies that I work with, he's actually from California and is a huge Lakers fan. He said that, and so it's hitting him a lot too. And he was kind of saying that, Kobe Bryant to Lakers fans is similar to how we need air, how we need water to survive. Like, that is how much he meant to LA and to, maybe even California in general too. So I guess, do you have a favorite or a well-known Kobe Bryant, I guess, story, or maybe, obviously, like, neither of us knew him, but maybe like a performance or something that he did that you thought, wow, like that's really stands out?
So I watched Kobe's last game against Utah where he scored 60, and it was pretty spectacular. But to be honest, and I was never like this big, huge, Kobe Bryant fan in NBA speaking. Like I've always been a LeBron guy, and the Lakers, I was never really a big Laker fan until LeBron went there. Whatever, but. So I've always been a little critical, like Kobe, he didn't pass enough, blah, blah, blah. And when I watched that game, like, he only scored 60 because he shot 50 times. But I watched that game I just was scrolling through the channels, and that game was on again. I watched like the fourth quarter where everybody was on his feet and Kobe was doing his thing. And some of those shots he hit, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
it when I had rewatched it, I really realized like, wow, okay, no, this is special. Even it don't matter if he was, I think he was what, I don't know how old he was at the time, 38 maybe, but I don't care if he was 22 or 26. What some of the shots he was making and the pressure that was on him, it was pretty remarkable. So
Yeah.
that game sticks out to me. And it's not like he got 60 because I know he said he shot 50 times, but it's not like he scored 60 because the Jazz were just letting him score. He had a decent field goal percentage, it was like 44%, and it was actually like a big game. Like it didn't really matter much. It was the last game of the year, but it was a close game the whole way. And Kobe did what he needed to get the win. You know, he had the assist right at the end to pretty much seal it. And I just thought rewatching that game, like, wow, this is a true testament to the dude's career. Like this guy's a baller. And that game, rewatching the end of that game was pretty cool. So that would stick out to me.
Yeah. For me, I don't think I have one specific moment that stands out to me. Being a Denver Nuggets fan, I absolutely hate the Los Angeles Lakers. I hated Kobe Bryant. For the main reason was when we had those years with Carmelo Anthony, J.R. Smith, Marcus Camby, you know, when George Karl was our head coach. Anytime we got to the playoffs, it seemed like we always were matched up against the Lakers. Right. And we always lost. It's kind of like how the Twins are with the Yankees, can never beat the Yankees in the playoffs. That's how the Rockies were, that's how the Nuggets were with the Lakers. We could never beat Kobe Bryant and the Lakers in the playoffs. We had great teams. And so for me, it kind of hit on a different level when he died, just because I saw him all the time and I saw him just destroy my hopes and dreams. Every single time we played the Lakers in the playoffs, Kobe Bryant was there and he was probably going to be knocking us out. And so that's my memory. I don't think it's a good one, but it just goes to show you how talented he was and how much he was really able to put teams on his back pretty much any given moment.
Yeah. I mean, looking back at his career, I mean, the dude had a remarkable career. I've always, like I said, I've always been, you know, a little critical of the way he played, and I maybe haven't given him some of the respect he deserves. You know, I've always been a big LeBron guy, and I always say he's nowhere in the same sentence as LeBron as far as comparing NBA. Not that that really matters right now, but when I look back at it, it's like Kobe does have 5 rings, and although 3 of them were mainly, a large part due to Shaq, who won Finals MVP in those first 3, he won 2 pretty much by himself. Like, he had Powell, and Powell was really good, but Powell ain't like, Powell is not this top 50 or probably even top 100 basketball player. 100 maybe. Powell was pretty good, but Powell ain't Shaq. Powell ain't Dwayne Wade even, you know.
Yeah.
He pretty much beat the Celtics on, it was him and somewhat Powell and some role players, and he beat Boston, and I can't remember who the other team he beat. He beat the Magic without Shaq. But regardless, he won 2 without Shaq too, and that's impressive because it's not like he had a bunch of superstars playing with him. So the dude's a winner. He's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you know, NBA is doing their tributes. They're doing their final, like, kind of hats off to him and his family, doing a lot of different things for him. NBA is doing a lot of things. Again, super sad situation for every single person involved, not just, you know, the Bryant family, but all the other people that were involved too. People are losing husbands, wives, brothers, you know, sisters. It's a super sad situation. But nonetheless, rest in peace, Mamba, all the other people that pass away. And, hopefully, it's hard to see, but in a lot of situations, good can come from kind of nasty situations, and maybe something good will come from this. We'll just have to find out for sure what that will be. But nonetheless, we are going to move on to some baseball now. There was a decent sized trade. I wouldn't call it a blockbuster trade by any means, but the Pittsburgh Pirates did trade Starling Marte to the Arizona Diamondbacks for two prospects. Sterling Marte to me is a guy that had a lot of potential. Obviously, he did have a run in with getting suspended because he
Yeah.
took some stuff that he shouldn't have been taking. But so I guess what do you think about this from maybe an Arizona Diamondbacks fan perspective? Do you think this is a good trade for them?
I do. I think it's a very good trade. I mean, I guess you might have to. I'm not. These prospects Arizona gave up. I mean, they got real potential.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're anything too high. So it's like at the end of the day, like I said, a prospect's just a prospect, and they gave up two prospects who aren't like super high for a very legitimate, proven player. The cool part is now he gets to play with his brother.
Yeah.
Tito, which I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it'll help them both. And I think it's a good trade. I don't think anybody's beating the Dodgers in the West, but I do think Arizona is their biggest competitor right now. Sorry, you being a Rocky fan, but I think Arizona is their biggest competitor. And Sterling Marte, you know, he had his run-in with PEDs, like you mentioned, but he's a very good player. He's been good for a long time. He's not necessarily, I mean, he might not be a 5-star. He's not like a big power hitter, but he does have over 100 career home runs. He steals a lot of bases. He's a good defense. He's, you know, real speedy in the outfield. He bats for a decent average. He can drive in some runs. He's a very quality player, and you mix him in there with his brother Quito, and they just got Mad Bum. I mean, they could compete. I really like the trade. I think it's, like you said, a little bit under the radar trade. It's not like the signing of Donaldson or maybe even Ozuna, which happened recently. But Marte is a very legitimate piece to a contending team. So I think it's a very good deal.
Yeah, I mean, you and I kind of have the same mindset as far as prospects go. I'm not a ginormous fan on trading players for prospects just because you don't know how those prospects are going to pan out. They could be phenomenal. They could be terrible. You know, I'm more of a guy of let's trade for players who are established and know what they are already. But nonetheless, Diamondbacks, they are getting a solid player. Obviously, like we mentioned, the PD situation that's behind them that already happened. The Diamondbacks are getting a really solid fielder. Like you mentioned, he can do a little bit of everything. Solid defender, has got great speed. He can hit pretty well. He's got a solid arm. It's just going to bolster that Diamondbacks outfield, who now already, like you mentioned, already now have Madison Bumgarner. So it is nice to see everybody else in the NL West is doing something except for the Colorado Rockies. So that's good. But nonetheless, I think it's a good trade. I hope he doesn't burn us when we play him in the Diamondbacks, 95 times this year. But I think he will be a solid player, and I think the Diamondbacks will definitely be liking this guy a ton for sure.
Like I said, I think I like the addition. Plus he's a righty. The D-backs have some quality left-handed hitting already, so you mix that in there. I mean, you got Peralta and Marte. You got two Martes now. You got David Peralta. You got Escobar. You got some good hitters in there. Arizona, I think, is going to be I think they're definitely going to finish at least second in the NL West. Like I said, I really like this signing, or not signing, this trade. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's fine. Yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. Maybe check in a little bit later in the season, see how Marte is doing for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Houston Astros, though, they found their new manager. It is a guy who has been around the game for a long, long time, and that is Dusty Baker. Do you like this, not signing, maybe them Dusty Baker to become the Astros manager?
I think it's a smart signing for Houston. Houston's obviously they're going to hear it this year. There's going to be a lot of disgruntled, bitter fans towards them. They're going to have to answer a lot of questions to the media, post-game, pre-game, whatever. And Dusty Baker's a guy who's been around in baseball for a long, long time and probably has a lot of respect and around the league. And I think signing him or making him your manager rather than some young guy or some newbie is a good idea for them because, they're just going to try to get some respect back. I mean, obviously they're going to go out there and try to handle their business, win this year. But as far as painting a different picture on that organization, they don't want to be the bad guys, their whole rest of their franchise history now. And Dusty Baker, I think, is a good start in trying to turn that image around because, he's garnered a lot of respect throughout the league, being that he's been here a long time and he may know how to handle this. So I think it's a good sign, a good idea for them to bring in Dusty. And just on a managerial, just on Dusty Baker's manager himself and how he's done in the past, he's been on he's coached some pretty good teams.
Yeah.
Pretty good Reds teams, Nationals, I believe, for a while. I mean, Houston's got a World Series type roster. I mean, I think Dusty could definitely bring him back to one. So we'll see.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned the success that he's had because he's had a fair amount of success almost everywhere he's gone. Obviously, he was a Cubs manager for a little bit, Giants manager. He was the Reds manager. He was most recently the Washington Nationals manager. He's never won the big one, but I think if his chances to win the big one are any, I think it's going to be now. I think the Astros are going to be on a mission. I think Dusty Baker is going to be the perfect guy to manage them just because he's a guy that, being around the game a long time, he can kind of keep them focused, keep them where they need to be, and try not to let all this outside stuff get into their heads. This is kind of a little bit of a tangent now, I guess, kind of getting a little away from Dusty Baker, but I do want to know your opinion on it. Obviously, at the Houston Astros Fan Fest, they were interviewing a lot of the players and talking to them. Something that really kind of irked me, and I didn't realize it irked me much until I was listening to the Starting Nine podcast that Barstool Sports, the baseball podcast that they put out, really mentioned it. But Jose Altuve kind of saying that people are doubting us, people don't think that we can do it, and that we'll be there again. Nobody in the end of the world is doubting. Nobody is saying, yeah, you have a terrible roster. The only reason you won is because you cheated. They have a good roster. What is your opinion on what Jose Altuve? I don't know if you heard that or not, but what is your take on what Jose Altuve?
I didn't hear that, but I mean, there's a few people out there I think are gonna say, Houston's not that good. They just won because they cheated. But at the end of the day, it's just bitter fans trying to, be upset about something. I mean, clearly they have a lot of talent. I will say, with how close that World Series was with the Dodgers, and it went to 7, and especially the one game in Houston, was it Game 5, where it was like 13-12 or something like that. I mean, you could definitely argue if it weren't for the science inning, LA could have won that game and won the series. But Houston is one of the more talented, was and still is one of the more talented teams in baseball. So yeah, I mean, me for example, I'm not doubting them. I haven't come out with my MLB predictions yet, but I may even predict them to make the World Series. Probably not, but I think they got just about as good of a chance as anybody in the AL, them and the Yankees, and throw the Twins in there. I think the Red Sox have enough bounce back, but the Astros, I'm not doubting their abilities. I'm sure there's some people out there, but I don't know. So, I mean, I guess I don't really care that he said it, but is it true? I mean, I'm sure there's some doubters out there, but I think most people realize they're talented. They're just upset that, they cheated. And honestly, like, when you're already it's kind of like the Patriots with all their scandals. It's like, you should never be cheating. But when you're this good already, you don't need to. Like,
yeah, that's
are that good. You don't need, especially like the Patriots with the Bengals thing this year. It's like, it's the Bengals. Come on. You don't need to do that to be the Bengals. So I don't know. I mean, it don't really irk me, I guess, that he said it, but I don't know. Well, I think it's going to be really interesting this year how Houston's season goes. And I was just looking the other day, their opener is on ESPN. I think they play home against Angels on opening night. Okay. That's on ESPN. So it'll be interesting how ESPN covers that game and talks about all the events that conspired.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to find out for sure. Anyway, that was a random tangent. At the end of the Dusty Baker, I think he's a really good manager. I think he'll definitely get the job done here for Houston. I would not be surprised if he's having Houston compete for another World Series title again. We'll have to see how he goes the rest of the season. Nick Castellanos signs a 4-year deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Nick, what is going on with Cincinnati? All of a sudden now they're getting a lot of big-name guys and trying to become a legit contender in the league right now. Do you like this for him?
Oh, yeah, I love it. a while back, the Reds, the Reds won probably 3 NL Central titles in a row there with Votto and Phillips and Bruce and whatnot, and they haven't really been competitive for 5 years now, and they're sick of it. And I love it when teams just say, you know what, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna sign people, and we're gonna go all in and try. And this team last year did not allow that many runs. They really didn't. They were actually pretty good pitching squad last year. And so they did hit a lot of home runs, but a lot of times there wasn't enough guys in base where it mattered. And so obviously they didn't win many games. So they're looking this year, if we get this pitching we had last year and we add a lot of hitters, we could be competitive. And they've already added Moustakas and what other acquisitions have they had? Sorry, I'm blanking here. Before Moustakas, they got someone, right?
Yeah, Moustakas. I know I'm written it down, man. This is.
Well, anyways, Moustakas is a huge signing. Castellanos. I mean, these guys have been proven for the last 3-4 years that they can hit, and you throw them in with Suarez, Votto. This is I don't know if you even call them a sleeper anymore. There's going to be a lot of people picking the Reds. I think they're going to be a really solid club next year.
I would not be surprised if the Reds are competing for a wild card spot, honestly.
And I don't think they'll win the division, but I wouldn't be shocked. The Pirates are going to be in the cellars this year. I mean, they're going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. I think the Cubs are on a downward spiral.
Yeah.
I do think the Cardinals and Brewers are still going to be pretty good, and the Cardinals are probably the team to beat in that division. But that division's been really up and down the last, 3 or 4. That division's kind of like the NFC East in football. You always seem to think you know who's going to win, and then it's somebody else. And I can see the Reds competing in that division. I love what they're doing. They're going out, signing guys, trying to win now. I love it. Plus, Castellanos just played. He just got done playing in that division. He finished out the year with the Cubs. He's already somewhat familiar to some of the NL Central pitchers, so that should help.
I'm a huge fan of it. I know I was talking to when I was doing the San Francisco Giants team episode with Jackson. I know he was talking that he wanted the Giants to try and be aggressive and go out and get Castellanos. I'll have to talk to him about it now, obviously, now that he is not on the San Francisco Giants. He's now on the Cincinnati Reds.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a guy, Castellanos, he was on some pretty bad Detroit teams, but he was always one of the bright stars of them. He's a guy that, he has a lot of pop. First off, that's the biggest thing is his bat. He's got a big bat. So I would not be surprised if he's hitting this at least 20, I'd say probably 30, maybe 35 home runs this year, driving in close to 100 runs. I would not be shocked at all, too. Yeah. And then defensively, too, very underrated defender. I think Castellanos definitely can get it done in Cincinnati, and I think this will help him a lot, too, now. Obviously, being on the Cubs, for a little bit this last season, that's a big market team. That's a team that has a lot of attention going towards them. Going to a Cincinnati Reds team that doesn't get a lot of attention, doesn't get a lot of hype, I think they're going to I don't think they will, but I could see them flying under the radar as far as recognition goes. And I think that'll be perfect for Castellanos, and I think he's going to have a very sneaky good year that towards the end of the year, people are going to be looking. They're going to be like, oh, wow, he's hit 32 home runs, hit 290, and drove in 95 RBIs. Like, I didn't even know he was playing well this year. But that can definitely be the case for sure.
Yeah. By the way, just to clarify, they got Moustakas and Castellanos. There wasn't really another big-name guy they got. For whatever reason, Grandal, a lot of people thought were going to go to the Reds, and he didn't. And for whatever reason, I keep thinking the Reds signed some other big-name bat, but they didn't. But regardless, Moustakas and Castellanos, those are really good acquisitions. And, this Reds team has potential to do really good this next year.
And not to mention Trevor Bauer there, too, already. I mean, he's an extremely solid pitcher. Joey Votto at first base, he's always going to have a solid year as well, too. So they might be surprising some people this year. But nonetheless, moving on to some more NL news, there's been some reports coming out about that supposedly in the upcoming years that there is going to be a designated hitter in the National League. Nick, what is your take on this? I can tell you're very excited about it.
Oh yeah, I'm all for this. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna happen. I do think eventually it will happen. How soon down the road, I'm not sure. But I want a DH in the NL. I mean, I just don't see why not. I know back in the day that even the American League didn't have one, but I don't care. I you play you pay how much money did the Yankees give Garrett Cole? $400 million. They're not paying him to hit, and I know he's in the American League, so you don't have to hit. You don't have to hit. These National League pitchers, let's say Greinke with the Diamondbacks, he was what, 300 some million? You're not paying him $300 million to swing a bat. You're paying him to pitch. And I'm not watching baseball to watch Zach Greinke hit. And Greinke's a good hitter. I mean, I'm for a pitcher. Some of these pitchers are just terrible. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a guy bat 80. It's so much easier to pitch in the National League because you just intentionally walk your 8-hitter and throw it at the pitcher. You don't want to. It is.
Oh my.
It is. You just intentionally walk the 8-hitter so you can pitch to the pitcher. And if it's like the third or fourth inning, they're not going to take him out because they need him to eat up some innings. I just think at the end of the day, you pay hitters to hit, you pay pitchers to pitch. You shouldn't. Pitchers did not make it to the MLB because they were a good hitter, so they shouldn't have to they shouldn't have to hit. Put in a DH. Just do it now. Put in a DH. It'll make the game better. It'll make it even. I don't necessarily think a team really has an advantage come World Series wise, but you can make an argument. The AL's had a DH all year, so they're prepared for it. The NL doesn't have a guy in their team for DH, so come World Series time, they're just throwing some scrub in there. I mean, I don't think that's a real legit argument. But anyways, I just think make it so everybody's the same. They both have DHs. They both have 9 quality hitters, so you can't just intentionally walk an 8-hitter. I hate the fact that the pitchers hit. I really do.
See, I can see both sides of the spectrum. I think it definitely could be a positive because then you can have a guy who you have on your bench who's kind of been a platoon guy now being thrown in a DH and he can now play every game. I don't know. I'm with a lot of the new stuff. I like bat flips. I like a lot of the metrics and stuff that comes with the game. I don't have a problem with any of that. I think the National League, like, that's what's special about it, is that it is a different style of game. It's not like if you get to a situation where no one's on base and a 9-hitter comes up, that doesn't mean that you can just pipe a fastball down the middle and you're good. Example A, when the Rockies played the Diamondbacks in the wild card game, Archie Bradley came up and got an RBI triple because Neshek just piped a pitch right down the middle. So, granted, they're not going to be hitting 300, 350 with 14 home runs and 50 RBIs.
Well, Marquez might.
Well, Marquez might, yeah. Marquez might. Maybe Bumgarner too. But it's just it's a different strategy. I like the fact that it's a mind game that, is he going to bunt the runner over? Are they going to do a hit and run type thing? What are they going to try and do? I like that part of the game. I think that's a huge mental part of the game that I am a ginormous fan of. So I personally would not be a huge fan of it. I could see it benefiting. I don't think, if it does come, I don't think it's going to be a negative as far as, outcome goes. I think having proven hitters in there could help, but I am a fan of the old school when it comes to just trying to hit guys over, hit and runs, bunting guys over. And it really is truly a strategy because pitchers now, a lot of them aren't, a lot of them aren't shooing outs too. You really got to pitch to them differently. So I don't know.
Well, and I trust me, I like small ball. For instance, I play baseball. I don't have power. I play small ball. The Twins, when they were back in the day when they were winning divisions pretty consistently, they called them the Piranhas, the 79 hitters, and they'd bunt and steal and they'd play small ball. But like I said, pitchers don't make the MLB to hit. They make it to pitch. I just don't think they should be hitting. I know like you said, it's kind of what makes the National League special. I get that. That's kind of cool, but I don't care. You know what? You're a Rocky fan, right? If the Rockies somehow miraculously make the World Series this year, and it's Game 7 in Colorado, and it's the third inning, or let's say the second inning, and you got, I don't know, who would you say your ace is? Marquez?
Marquez or Freeland, yeah, I'd say.
All right. One of those two are pitching this Game 7, and it's the second inning. Well, let's say Freeland because he's a bad hitter. Freeland, and it's the second inning, bases juiced, 2 outs, and Freeland comes up. And, you know, the Twins are going to make the World Series. Just kidding. But so Jose Barrios on the mound and just zoom, zoom, zoom.
No.
Pitch it, strike out, Freeland, go sit down.
Freeland's not a bad hitter. He's not a
pretty mad. Regardless, he ain't as good as any DH you're going to put out there. If I were a Rocky fan, I'd be pretty pissed off. I'd be like, yeah, baseball, let's go put in this DH role. This is stupid.
Oh, man. I just think that's the advantage that the NL has. The AL has a huge advantage in that when they come to play in NL parks, they're screwed because the pitchers can't hit. And I love that. As a National League guy...
Another reason why they should change it.
As a National League guy, I love it. I have no problem.
You're getting an advantage.
I have no issue. And here's the thing, too, is there are pitchers that do like hitting. Madison Bumgarner loves hitting. Zach Greinke, when he got traded to Houston, he said, what is he going to miss about the Diamondbacks? He said the fact that he's not going to be able to hit anymore. You know, you have guys that enjoy hitting. It's not like every single guy that goes up to the plate, it's like they're up there swinging a sword. You know, they don't know what to do, so they just poke the bat out there and see what happens.
Well,
it's not as bad as you think.
I get that, but I love watching Bumgarner hit. But most of the pitchers, you like watching John Lester hit? How many at bats did it take?
John Lester hit a bomb. I think it's cool.
Finally, because he's been in the NL how long? It took like 80 at bats for him to get a first for a hit.
Okay. Now here's this for you. Okay, so baseball, obviously, we can both agree that as far as media attention goes, baseball does not get a lot of media attention from outside of the baseball world. So you're telling me that if you take out a Bartolo Colon and he's not able to hit a home run, I get it. I get it. Home runs are cool. But if you're telling me as a non-baseball fan that, this pitcher came up and hit a bomb like John Lester or like Bartolo Colon, as a non-baseball fan, that would draw me closer to the game just for the possibility that, you could see a pitcher go yard. So as far as media goes, I think it's good to have pitchers try and hit. Granted, they're not going to hit a home run every at-bat, but the times that they do, you can't tell me that when Bartolo Colon hit a home run that you were like, oh, man, I wish I would have had a DH there instead.
No, it was pretty awesome, but that happened, and is baseball getting media attention? No.
Yeah, they did. Bartolo Colon got
for a
so much
attention. It's not a continual thing. Maybe if guys are hitting grannies all the time, but let's see, pitchers aren't going to do that. No, I'm totally against pitchers hitting. I hate it. My brother would probably agree with you. I don't know if maybe it's changed.
Maybe I need to have
my brother loved the fact that pitchers would hit. I think my brother would say pitchers should hit in the AL too. No. Matt, almost any pitch. I mean, there's probably some pitchers, if they just decided they want to be a hitter, can make the majors. But most pitchers are pitchers because they're good pitchers, and they're getting paid because they're a good pitcher. They're not getting paid to hit, darn it. And I don't want to see them hit. It's just, I hate it. I don't want to see a guy go bat 53 when I can watch a DH at least somewhat know what he's doing with the bat and make the pitcher actually work. You know what? I know it's a video game, but I've played plenty of MLB The Show. And every once in a while, I'll be the Twins. Every once in a while, I'll be the Giants. You know, I pick the Giants, and I'm like, this is nice. I just get to intentionally walk 8 hitters and strike out the 9 and strike out the pitcher. I like it. It's so much easier.
Oh yeah,
so much easier to pitch in the NL.
Congratulations.
It's so much easier to pitch in the NL.
It's more strategy in the NL. What about this? What about these bench players now that when they do have to come in and pinch hit when it's later in the game? If you bring in a DH, there's almost not even a use for bench players anymore. I get it. You still want to have the best matchups available, and later in the game, sure, you know, if you have a lefty on the mound, you probably want to throw in a righty to hit if you have a lefty coming up to hit. But in the NL, bench players are ginormous. They can make or break your team. You go to the AL, I just don't think, yeah, there are an impact, but not as big of an impact.
Well, I agree with you on that. And yes,
Oh, okay.
there's a lot of strategy a lot more strategy in the National League. And part of the reason I like this is because of strategy. But I don't want to watch, at the end of the day, I just don't want to watch guys bat 50. I don't want to see it. Now, if you had pitchers bat in the AL and it was at least the same both ways, they both had the same strategies and bench players were important everywhere, I'd be somewhat okay with it, but I'd rather have it where nobody has the pitchers hit and they both have DHs. That way it's even, and the guys who are actually being paid to hit go hit.
Hashtag pitchers who rake, baby. Let's go.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like watching a pitcher hit a home run just as much as anybody else.
Apparently not.
That doesn't mean I want to. That doesn't mean I want to see them hitting all the time, because most pitchers suck at hitting, and even the good hitters, even the good hitting pitchers, aren't as good as your DHs will be.
You're a hater. You're a hater. Oh man. Oh well. We'll talk about this once it gets closer. But anyways, move on to some NFL stuff now. Greg Olson and the Panthers have both mutually agreed to part ways. To me, I don't think this is a huge shocker, just kind of for the fact that the Panthers are a team that's rebuilding, brought in a new coaching staff, new head coach. Cam Newton is likely on his way out too. But what did you think about this, I guess, when you heard about it?
I don't know. I wasn't too surprised. I've seen it coming. I did see Greg Olson said he'd be interested in playing elsewhere. But, I mean, personally, the injury problems he's had, and I just don't know if he even has it anymore anyways, that if I'd just say, Greg Olson, just go announce. You have a job waiting there for you. Just go announce games and hang it up. But I don't know. Somebody might give him a flyer and sign him, but I don't think Greg Olson's really that good anymore anyways. And I think everybody knew that Carolina was going to get rid of him.
Personally, I think wherever Cam Newton goes, I think Greg Olson goes there too.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Just kind of for the fact that Olsen is Cam Newton's favorite target. You know, he's had good receivers throughout the years. At the end of the day, the guy he looks at and trusts the most is Greg Olsen out there. So I think wherever he's going to go now this is all assuming right now Cam Newton is still on the Carolina Panthers, but I think by the time next season starts, I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be somewhere else, and I would not be surprised if Greg Olson follows him there too.
I agree with you. I don't think Newton will be a Panther at the start of next season either.
But not a complete shocker news there, but something that was definitely worth noting for sure.
Yeah.
The New York Jets and Le'Veon Bell supposedly have had some talks that they might part ways. To me, Nick, I didn't see this working out from the get-go. When I first heard that Le'Veon Bell was going to sign with the Jets, I was like, why? Why do you want to sign with the Jets? You're better off staying with Pittsburgh, where, yeah, your playoff hopes aren't as good, but they're going to be a heck of a lot better than going to the New York Jets. And now, oh, yeah, the Jets were actually not very good this year, and, yeah, you had some struggles. Now you want to leave. To me, I never saw this working out from the get-go. So are you surprised that they want to part ways?
I'm kind of surprised that the Jets would want to get rid of him, but I'm definitely not surprised that Le'Veon Bell would want out. I actually think the Jets are going to be pretty decent next year. Towards the end of the year, they started playing a lot better. I do think Darnold could potentially – I mean, I don't know if Darnold's ever going to be great, but I think Darnold could be a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. I think that defense, especially with Jamal Adams, is going to eventually be a pretty darn good defense. So, you know, as long as you have Bell now assigned, I'd want to hang on to him. But if they can get – I mean, they want to – I mean, by parting ways, like, what do they mean? They're just going to, you know,
probably
say bye and release him? Or, I mean, try to work out a trade? Like, it kind of depends. Like, if I were the Jets, I wouldn't just straight up get rid of the guy because you're still gonna have to pay him. If you're released, you're still gonna have to pay him a decent amount of money, so you might as well keep him. But I mean, if you could somehow trade him, if somebody were willing to do that, I think that would be smart for both people, for both parties involved.
Right.
Because I mean, Bell ain't what he was, but he's still a good running back. Like,
yeah,
I personally wouldn't want to pay him the money you'd have to pay him. But being that the Jets are already committed to that and paying him that, like, it depends how much. I don't know how all those contract things work. Let's just say that Jets want to release him. It depends how much of that chunk they still have to pay him. If it's still a lot, then you might as well just hold on to him.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
We'll see what happens there.
I don't, like I said, I don't think the Jets are going to be very good. I think the Bills are going to be towards the top, and I'm sure New England's going to be around there too, depending on the whole Brady situation, how that goes. But I don't think the Jets are going to be good. You know, Adam Gase is a head coach who I saw him a lot of times with Miami. I have very mixed feelings on him. Part of me thinks, oh yeah, he just kind of got a bad card because a lot of players got injured, which is true. But even the best coaches are able to make something out of nothing, and he can never make anything out of anything. And except for the one playoff appearance that we had there. I think Le'Veon Bell, personally, I think they need to trade him. Like I said, I think the guy's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's a very solid player. But he didn't perform for you well last year at all, and he was supposed to be the big, your big guy for you. He barely did anything. Mm-hmm. And I think you don't release him. If you're going to get rid of him, definitely trade him. Even though I think draft picks are really overrated sometimes, I think you got to try and trade and get something for him.
Well, and I guess that's pretty much where I am too. I don't think Bell's like this stud. He definitely was a disappointment this year, but he's still a decent running back. But that being said, if you can trade him, I'd totally trade him. Like, I'd be all for that. I mean, I guess it somewhat depends what you get. I just don't think, like, if you can't get a trade, I don't think it's worth releasing him. You might as well keep him at that point.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you can trade him, then go for it. But otherwise, no, just hang on to him and see what you do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I move on from that, and I move on to some NHL talk. Thomas Hertl done for the season with a torn ACL and torn MCL in 48 games this year. He had 16 goals, 20 assists. Hertl is a guy that I especially remember when he first came up in the league, a ton of hype behind him. I mean, you talk about guys that are really good puck handlers and really know what they're doing. Obviously, Crosby is a name that comes to mind. McKinnon, McDavid. Patrick Kane is super solid at that too. Hertl is a guy that really gets overlooked by that, and he's a solid player for the Sharks team that desperately needs all the help that they can get. Obviously, right now, they are not in a position that they want to be, and the fact that one of their main guys is now gone for the rest of the season with a pretty serious injury, I don't think this is going to be any good for them. I mean, obviously not, when you say that, but like this truly is a huge, huge shot at them. And I don't think they're going to be able to really rebound from this at all. I think they're going to be drop even more in the standings.
I think this injury affects the rest of the NHL more than it affects San Jose. I don't think San Jose was going to go anywhere regardless. They're, I believe, third to last in the West. So I don't think even with a healthy Hertl, they were gonna catapult themselves into the playoffs. I mean, in hockey, anything can happen, but it's unlikely. I think this affects the rest of the NHL because nobody can trade for him, and now anybody who plays San Jose, it's going to be even easier. They're not going to be very good now, so it's going to be even easier to beat them. But it might end up being a good thing. Maybe they'll be the worst team in the West now, and they'll get a number one pick. I don't think, at the end of the day, I don't think they were going anywhere. So if you're going to be bad, you might as well be really bad. And that's what they're going to be now. San Jose is not going to be very good now. I mean, they weren't very good to begin with this year, and now they lost one of their best players.
I wouldn't be surprised if Brent Burns is a name that's definitely mentioned on the trading spectrum and when the trade deadline kind of reaches here too.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's going to affect the rest of the NHL more than it is the Sharks because now contenders they're not going to trade for Hurdle because well he's injured. I mean, yeah, you could say well San Jose won't get back what they could, but you can always trade him next year or something or in the off season. But nobody's going to be trading for Hurdle now. So if you thought Hurdle was a guy you maybe would be able to add as a piece to help you win the Stanley Cup, well, you can't do that anymore.
Right. And it's tough too, when you're a fan of a team that has had success. They have had a lot of
Yeah,
success.
just made the
Um,
finals 3 years ago, two.
and not too long ago, and now obviously playing pretty poor this year. Um, it's hard as a fan when you already don't have a lot that's right going well for you to now have one of the only bright spots on your team now also taken
Yeah,
out, and he's not going to be there the rest of the season. So as far as fans go, I think the Sharks are going to see a huge, huge dip in attendance goes. Now, I will say, I hope I'm wrong with that because as it's shown in the past many, many other times, NHL fans are some of the most loyal fans in sport. As
yeah,
much as their
they are.
teams as bad as they are, fans are going to show up to the game and they're going to support their team regardless. So I hope that it doesn't affect them as much. But all I'm saying is it's going to be really hard to go to games where, obviously they have some bigger name guys there. Brent Burns is about the only solid guy that they have going out there on the ice right now every night. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably hard for a Sharks fan to take. I mean, you lose Hurdle, but like I said, I'm the fan where if my team is bad, I'm like, you know what? Just go lose some more. I want a good pick. In
Embraced.
hockey, I guess anything can happen. You get 2 points for a win. You look, oh, you're 10 points down. Well, you can make that up easier than it seems, especially in hockey. I mean, the Blues were the worst team in the league last year, beginning January, and they win the finals. The Wild are about the most streaky team in hockey every year. So things can happen, but it's unlikely San Jose was going to make it. So, you know what? This might be a good thing for him, and it might end up being a good thing for him. We'll see. I don't think when you're a bad team losing you never want to see anybody get injured, but they might get a better pick now, and it might actually help them. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up helping them in the future.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Maybe Hurdle gone for the rest of the season, and then if they do get a top draft pick, maybe that top draft pick paired on a line with Hurdle. Who knows? Maybe it could
Yeah.
do exciting things in San Jose again. So the new Seattle team that is going to be joining the league soon, supposedly, and I say supposedly with maybe about a 95% assurance that this probably is going to be the case, that their team name is going to be the Seattle Kraken. Do you like that name for this franchise?
I mean, no. Like the Kraken. I mean, really. To me, I don't really like that as a name. I will say this: it's gonna draw headlines. I mean, look, we're talking about the name now. Like, and if you're just starting up and want to gain some fandom, then you got to get your name out there. And I think naming yourself the Kraken will do that. So, effective business strategy, maybe, but I don't really. I mean, I wouldn't want the Wild to be the Minnesota Kraken. Like, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the name, but I do think it might be smart. I don't personally like the name though.
See, and I think you would share that opinion with a lot of people. A lot of things that I've been saying, people are not ginormous fans of the name at all. Personally, for me, I like it. I think the Kraken is a pretty dope name. Yeah, I mean, you talk about Seattle. Obviously, Seattle's known for what? A lot of the ocean life, a lot of, you know, marine life there. And Kraken, that's a dope name. I like that a lot for the Seattle team. Now we'll have to see what their jerseys look like too to
Well,
see.
I will say the mascot and the logo would probably look pretty dope. I mean, I'll give them that. Well, okay, here's the thought. So you know how like people, was it the Red Wings fans kept throwing octopus or octopi on the, you know what, maybe the Seattle fans just start throwing, I mean, I know it's a fictional thing, but maybe they'll just start throwing squids that are supposedly Krakens on the ice. There we go. Then maybe I'll get on board with this whole Kraken name.
Yeah.
Throwing Kraken out there on the ice.
Well, for their first home game, Nick, we'll fly out to Seattle, and we'll be the first fans to do that.
Yes, let's do it, and then we can hit up Safeco Field, like I was talking about. There we go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What's the commercial with the Kraken? It's some like liquor, isn't it?
Yeah, I have no idea if I'm gonna be honest with you.
Back in the day, there was some commercial about, I think it was a liquor company, and they'd always use the Kraken. I would say they got to name their stadium after. They got to get those people to put in some money for the naming rights to their stadium. Then, if they're going to call themselves the Kraken.
Well, I'm down for it if you are. I mean, hey, whatever works, I guess. But
I'm gonna look that up. See if I can find the commercial.
Yeah, do some research. Do some research for us. Well, that's all of the sports news that we have to talk about today. Is there any final thoughts, Nick, or anything that you wanted to bring up anymore?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah, like I said, not a ton of stuff to talk about, but this time of the year, it's kind of hard to find stories to talk about. So we make best with what we can and keep it going. So if you'd like to find us on Twitter, you can find myself at Lucas_Dorton, capital L, capital D. For Nicholas Doetkott, you can find him on Twitter at Doetkott or Doetkott, whatever's easier for you there to write down. But definitely share, retweet, tell everyone that you can as well. If you would like to be on a future episode, I know Nick, one of your buddies, definitely has been talking about this. We'll have to try and get him on here at some point as well too. But if you are interested, or you have a take or a topic that you want us to talk about, or you want to be on a show, definitely let us know. I'm sure we can make something happen for you, or try to at least. But that is all of the topics that we have to talk about today. Everybody, thank you for joining us on week 10 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. I am Lucas Dorton, and as for myself and Mr. Nicholas Doetkott without his glasses, we are out.